The horrifying truth about sexual diseases throughout history. In earlier times, it wasn't easy to handle disease transfer because of hereditary and other ailments. Throughout history, the royal families struggled with sexual diseases. Have you ever thought about how people in the past were able to deal with diseases that we cure with technology in modern times? In this video, we'll discuss some horrifying truths about sexual diseases throughout history. You'll see many royal people losing their life because of these ailments. These diseases were also the reason people did work for mankind and found treatments to fight these illnesses. Stay with us till the end of the video to know some terrifying and shocking facts that you might not be aware of. Let's see what sexual diseases were common in the past and which historical figures died due to these ailments. Sexual diseases common in historical eras. Since ancient times, people have been aware of sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs. Before the development of modern medicine, there were few or no therapies developed for STDs, and people's ignorance of the illnesses led to their widespread transmission. Syphilis and gonorrhea were two of the most common STDs in Europe during the Middle Ages. Syphilis spread quickly, attacking many royal kings. Do you know what kind of disease syphilis and gonorrhea are? Let's explain. What are syphilis and gonorrhea? Syphilis is a sexually transmitted illness that, if left untreated, can result in major health issues. Stages of infection development include primary, secondary, latent, and tertiary. Signs and symptoms can vary depending on the stage. Gonorrhea. The Neisseria gonorrhea bacterium is the source of the sexually transmitted disease known as gonorrhea. The urethra in men and women, as well as the cervix, uterus, and fallopian tubes in women, are all affected by the gonorrhea infection. What is the origin of these STDs? Let's explore that question. The origin of syphilis. Following their exploration of the New World, Christopher Columbus and his crew carried a lot of things back to Europe, and one of them was syphilis. According to one theory, crewmen who contracted syphilis during Christopher Columbus's exploration missions disseminated the illness to others. They may have acquired syphilis while in America, and when they docked at ports in Europe on their way back, they may have spread it there also, according to the current study. On the other hand, there is a high possibility that syphilis was present in Europe before Columbus ever set sail for America. What do you think is the true or original origin of syphilis? The origin of gonorrhea. During the Cook expeditions, gonorrhea is believed to have traveled from Tahiti to New Zealand thanks to sailors. Royal historians attacked by STDs. Some famous royals died due to STDs. Henry VII. Henry VII is renowned by being the first Tudor king and the paternal grandfather of King Henry VIII. He was a cunning ruler who amassed an enormous fortune for the crown. Henry VIII had 6 bad marriages. Beheaded, divorced, and died, beheaded, divorced, and survived. It's a mnemonic technique that many Brits learned as kids to recall the fates of the 6 women who served as Henry VIII's queens between 1509 and 1547. Henry VIII and his illness. Henry was accused of having a mental illness because he hacked off his wife's head. It was claimed that his wives and unidentified mistresses became pregnant 10 times, but only 4 of the children were born. The others resulted in stillbirths and miscarriages. People think that the ulcer he had in 1527 and 28 was a broken down gumma, a sign of secondary syphilis. The condition can result in stillbirths and miscarriages, but this ulcer was painful, whereas gummata are not, and the leg is an odd position for a gumma, calling into question whether he indeed had syphilis. Did Henry VIII have syphilis? Syphilis may or may not be a factor in stillbirths and miscarriages. Furthermore, his children showed no signs of syphilis, which is positive. His death could have been caused by a variety of factors, as he was in pain when he passed away. He passed away on his bed on January 28, 1547, leaving his room smelling like an ulcer. It was very sad for him because there was nothing available at the time to diagnose or cure his illness. Ivan IV the Terrible. Ivan IV Vasilyevich, also known as Ivan the Terrible in English, was the first Tsar of all of Russia from 1547 to 1584, and the Grand Prince of Moscow from 1533 to 1547. Ivan IV, who built Russia into an empire, was the most intellectual emperor. He was a brutal leader who was prone to suspicion and rage. Ivan IV used to kill and torture individuals in addition to penetrating the eyes of birds and stealing their feathers for entertainment. Ivan IV diagnosed with syphilis. After Ivan IV's remains were discovered in the kilns of a Moscow chapel, scientists concluded that he may have had syphilis. His remains were put through a variety of examinations, and it was discovered that he had high mercury levels. The only diseases that could be treated with mercury in the past were leprosy and syphilis. It is well known that beginning at the end of the 15th century, mercury was employed in Russia to treat syphilis. The reason Ivan IV acquired syphilis. Ivan IV was widely thought to have contracted syphilis as a result of his various relationships. He had 8 marriages and poisoned his first 3 wives. He also battled rheumatoid arthritis. Ivan is also alleged to have corrupted tens of thousands of virgins and killed tens of thousands of children. Ivan IV, who was 53 years old, passed away from a stroke on March 28, 1584, while playing chess. Charles VII. Charles VII, also known as Charles the Victorious or the Well-Served, was born on the 22nd of February 1403 in France and ruled France from 1422 until passing in 1461. How Charles VII caught syphilis. Syphilis's first significant pandemic struck Europe in 1495 while Charles VII of France's army was besieging Naples. As mentioned before, several members of Columbus's crew who had been infected with syphilis acquired from natives of the New World and brought the disease into Spain, returned to Seville and then later to Barcelona, where they were joined by Spanish mercenaries who, following the Columbian theory of the origin of syphilis, became infected. After Charles' army took control of Naples, syphilis started to spread throughout the Italian peninsula, earning the names Morbo Gallico, French disease, or Morbo Gallico, garlic disease. The illness had spread to every country in Europe by 1497, including Scotland. The illness was referred to as Le Mal de Naples in both France and England. Victoria. From June 20, 1837 until her passing on January 22, 1901, Victoria ruled the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The Victorian era is named after her 63-year and 7-month reign, which was the longest of any previous British ruler. The United Kingdom was undergoing a time of significant industrial, political, scientific, and military change, and the British Empire significantly expanded during this time. Victoria and her illness. Victoria had hemophilia, a condition marked by a deficiency in blood-clotting proteins. She was the first British royal to carry this illness, and it is clear that this hemophilia existed before her, as it is a disease that is inherited and passed down. This disease spread down in Europe as it passed down to Victoria's great-grandchildren. 4 of her granddaughters and 2 of her daughters were hemophiliacs. Prince Leopold. The 7th child, named after his uncle Leopold and youngest son of Queen Victoria, did develop hemophilia. After a small fall and bleeding, he passed away at the age of 30, just 2 years after marrying Princess Helena of Waldeck and Pyrmont. No genes were passed on, as he had no descendants. The royal people struggled with sexual diseases, and the horrific fact is there weren't any ways to save these people because at the time there was no antibiotics or cures. We don't know how they interpreted these diseases and tried to treat them. It was so unfortunate for the people in the past to die because the treatment of diseases weren't discovered. To this time, we are still not sure whether Henry VIII had syphilis or not. Many mysteries in this world are still unsolved. If you have the answer to them, then let us know in the comment section. We have to say goodbye now, but we'll be back with more interesting facts. If you enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to like it. Subscribe to our channel if you want to support us, and turn on the notification button to stay tuned for more videos.